Sure. Thank you. Well, first of all, I want to thank Dom Starsia. Dom Starsia gave me a chance as a high school recruit to attend a Division I university and play lacrosse at Brown. And I've been following Dom ever since. Even though I'm finishing my 5th year with Sean Kerwin and Kip Turner as coaches here at the University of Virginia, we're still enjoying Dom's recruiting efforts along with Mark Van Arsdale. And I was just really grateful for all the talent that he left 5 years ago and the recruits, but more importantly, how to treat people, how to be a man, how to be respectful of the game. Dom has a very close relationship with Native Americans, Dave White in particular, who is also a Brown lacrosse alum, and so it just how to hold yourself as a man, and how to treat people right, and how to be good to the game. And so thank you, Dom, for everything you've done. Second, I'd like to thank President Ryan, our rector, Jim. Oh gosh. The rector. Oh God, it just slipped me. Jim Kenny. Oh gosh. What's that? I'll start over. I'd like to thank President Jim Ryan, the athletic director Carla Williams, Jane Miller. What a wonderful surprise! Bronco Mendenhall, the university rector, for being here. What a wonderful surprise to look over on the sidelines and then go over and give everyone a hug pregame on Memorial Day. To have such a contingent from our administration and our university to be here. What a special surprise. And then I hope you were able to notice that a lot of us were wearing the lime green laces. The Collieri family, what they've done to support those families who went through what their family went through when their son died of cancer, and they organized the Headstrong. And what they've done for so many families, and what they do now for a young man who's touched us, David Alexander. He's a Commonwealth of Virginia resident lacrosse player who is battling his fight. And David Alexander was able to come to some games this year at Klockner, and we've built a relationship with him. And that's been really, really special for us. And so to wear the lime green laces to not only honor David and Alexander, but also the entire organization Headstrong, we feel really lucky to be a part of that. Murray. Oh yeah, that's right. The rector's Jim Murray. How did I forget that? What an incredible experience to be a part of such an exciting game. I fell in love with the game of lacrosse in 1983. I'd been playing the game before that with my native friends, Brad Paulus, Joe Solomon, Jacob Lazor, T-Bone Homer, and many more. But the 1983 national championship game, Syracuse versus Hopkins, Joe Solomon's brother, Travis Solomon, was the starting goalie. Joe Solomon was my best friend, still is. And I got to join on the parent bus. And what a thrill for me going into as a 14-year-old boy to be on that bus and to ride right into the stadium and see this incredible game at Rutgers. And the reason I bring it up, the score that day was 17-16. And I just remember the passion of the game and the fans and the excitement. And I fell in love with the game of lacrosse that day. Whereas I know some people, the first time they touch the stick, they say, oh, I fell in love. I mean, I loved it, but that the emotions of that. And here we are today with that same score with two fantastic teams. John Tillman, what he does year in, year out with his program is simply phenomenal. I mean, that guy's been to 7 national championship games. It's incredible what he does. He seems to hit all 3 tenets of how we rate lacrosse programs. The talent acquisition, the development of that talent, and the schemes that you put them within, the strategy. Maryland does all 3 incredibly well, and that's why you can see that they're an undefeated lacrosse team this season. And of course they didn't give up. Of course they, we're up by 5, enjoying it, making a couple saves, making some stops, and failed a couple clears, unfortunately. And finally they got a couple, and they got that one off the scramble when they were man up, and they just wouldn't go away. And of course they didn't, because it's the definition of a Maryland lacrosse player. And, they've got an incredible history. And it also defines their present because of John Tillman. I am very grateful to have had Kip Turner for 11 years and now Sean Kerwin for 7 through our years at Brown and now here at the University of Virginia. The continuity of the staff cannot be underestimated. Sean Kerwin flat out is the best offensive coach in the game. I often say young offensive coach, but what he did today, putting up the number of goals we were able to on a stout defense and a strong goalie, he continues to prove that. I'm fortunate. Cooper Furson and I are doing the defense, and how lucky are we? We can give up 16 goals and still win. And that's because of our offensive prowess. And it starts with those two men that we lean so heavily on, Matt Moore and Connor Schellenberger. And we went into the game thinking, how can we get away from the matchups that Maryland will put on us, because we have incredible respect for 43 McCarr and 54 Grill. But it was Connor Schellenberger is stepping up and showing that he can win that matchup. He can win his matchup, and the balance that he plays with, understanding when to attack, because they're not the opposing defense isn't sliding, versus when they are sliding, and he can become the facilitator, the quarterback. He's got a great balance for that. He's not putting himself too far out in front and making himself like hunting points. He can let the game come to him and take what he sees. And then Matt Moore, but he stepping up in the biggest stage. I remember the 2 years ago against Yale, what a fantastic effort he had that day. And here he is again today with 4 goals. And so our offense starts with those guys, but we're so lucky to have such a plethora of offensive personnel to add with them, with Laviano and Peyton and Jeff Connor, et cetera. Peter Lasala, wow. He's been fighting through an injury the last few weeks. He's not been his normal stuff as we've grown accustomed to with Petey. He was fighting through an injury. He fought through it the last few weeks. And to get our offense going when things were stagnant early in the game, to get us a goal and get us an assist, amazing. And then maybe for me as a defensive coach, 2 guys, Chris Merle, he has emerged as an elite short stick teammate. We gave him an incredibly difficult assignment, Bubba Fairman. Early on, we were putting a short on number 23, Kyle Long, and boy, that guy's too fast. He blew by us and scored a goal in that first quarter. And so we made the adjustments. All right, we got to try to see if we can survive against Bubba. And Bubba had some good looks, and he's a heck of a lacrosse player. Chris Merle really, really stepped up to the task there. And then Kate Soustad, Jared Bernhardt is the best player in the game for the last 10 to 20 years, since people named Powell were playing this game. And what Jared Bernhardt does to opposing defense is put you in such a bind, because he's also got such a balance of being able to make his feeds and see the field. But yet when he's going to the goal, there's nobody tougher to stop. And Cade Soustad stepped up today. We had several different thoughts and ideas and strategies. We ended up just sticking with the one of, all right, Cade, this is your matchup, win it. And I'm not sure you don't neutralize Jared Bernhardt, but Cade stepped up and was able to deny, was able to take away some of those opportunities. And so the rest of the defense didn't have to be solely focused on one, and we could focus on so many other talented Maryland lacrosse players. I'll stop there.
Thanks, Coach. We'll open it up to questions, and we'll start with Jeff White, VirginiaSports.com.
Hey, Lars, congrats, first of all. But the story of 2019 in the tournament was those late game comebacks you had. Other than the Bryant game in this tournament, you never really had to put together a big rally. What were the last 2 games like for you in the final minute, knowing your defense had to get a stop or the game was going to overtime?
Right. Yeah. Very similar path there, right? Where we're up by 3-4 goals and watch that lead disappear. And not completely, fortunately. So we were able to make some stands there late in the game. And you're right. When you look at how it was just one comeback after another and winning all five games in 2019 that went to overtime. We were 5-0 in those games. And in a different path this way, where, you know, we were able to, in the playoffs here, just continue to improve and just meshing. Again, having Dox Aiken return for his 5th year, what a boon for us. Having Charlie Bertrand transfer, what an incredible talent. I mean, there's Charlie Bertrand with 3 national championships now. But it's difficult to blend all that talent because we've got really good recruits as well coming into the program, and we've got talented players returning, and all of a sudden you add these 2 5th-year players. So trying to find the right balance of making sure everyone's getting the playing time that they deserve wasn't easy. But I'll give credit to the men. They may not have all been completely happy with their playing time, but Coach Kerwin was able to not only tactically, but emotionally find the right balance on attack and how many guys ran through the midfield. And so when we finally got that gelled in there at somewhere in April and then certainly in May, then we became really dangerous and we were really able to put some points on the board. And then certainly Connor Schellenberger he's emerged. You know, he was a really good player down in Charlottesville, Virginia, and now the rest of the world has been able to see here in the month of May. He's one of the best in the game, period.
David Teal.
Lars, you said last week that the best part of reaching championship weekend was going to be just the time, the extra time that you got to spend with your team. Now that time has been rewarded with what is to your left, what has this been like and meant to you? Yeah,
I mean, you're starting to make me think about how it is over, though. You know, this extra time we squeeze these moments, and I think about specifically Jared Connors and Dox Aiken. Those are men who they were first years, our first year here. You know, Sean, Kip, and I, and you know, it's. I get emotional thinking about it. I'll admit to you, we all started together in late August of 2016, and you know, I haven't coached a game without those two, and I haven't coached a practice or anything without Jared, because obviously Dox was at Villanova playing football or pursuing football this past fall. And it's you know, in 2020 when COVID hit and we all shut down and everyone just disappeared, you know, that was hard. But I always felt like, a lot of us will come back, but a lot of our men didn't. And it sort of wondered, okay, I wonder why that is. And when I talked to those men, and you know, some of their bodies were beat up, but hey, coach, we won the national championship. It checks that box. And I'm ready to move on with my career. Our career services, our placing of our men in fantastic jobs in New York City, and in finance and marketing in other areas is incredible. So our guys had really good jobs too. So they took off. They took the next step of their life. And so all of a sudden they were gone, and it didn't have that really goodbye. And so now when I think about this with Dox and Jared, I mean, there's no better way to say goodbye, right? And but it's you know, it's hard to think that 3 months from now, when we're practicing and we're starting up again, those two aren't going to be there, and it's a whole new realm. And I'm excited about the recruits coming in, and I'm excited about, you know, getting a chance to get at it again. But man, I'll end this, and I'm answering this way too long, I know. I can't wait for this 10-hour bus ride home. I can't wait for it. I won't want it to end. I know it'll be 2 a.m. before we get in, but I'm going to squeeze my time, because I know once we get to Charlottesville and we get off that bus, it'll never be the same. It'll be over. And I just don't want to let it go. Win or lose, the time with Jared, Dox, and this group of men, it defines who we are, the bonds, the tightness, the community, the culture that we've tried so hard to create. It's real. And saying goodbye is going to be hard.
Patrick Stevens, Lacrosse Magazine.
Lars, you mentioned Connor Schellenberger's emergence, and I know you've said you guys have pushed him to be more assertive, more aggressive over the course of the season. When do you feel like that really did click for him, and has this sort of heralded a different level, you think, for him, especially over the last 3 games?
It really has. I think the month of May, this is where it's really happened. I mean, he's been a great player. You can see the stats. He put up big numbers all year, but it was really when you saw him here in the month of May, because he was seeing elite cover defensemen. You know, throughout the season, he might get the short stick defender sometimes. He might get someone's third best pole. But now in the month of May, he's going against some elite defensemen. And he didn't back down. He was going after people, and his ability to beat his man topside, or if they're taking away topside, for him to lower his shoulder and inside roll like he did on Grill at one time today for a goal. It's uncanny. I'm amazed. And of course he isn't truly a first year, you know, because I'm the not so smart coach who wanted to redshirt him last year. And as a good friend of mine reminded me about that. And of course, everyone got last year back, but he could have played 6 games before the COVID shutdown. But it's his ability to be able to beat good defenders off the dribble, as we say, but then also to recognize when the slide's coming and move and move that ball and put it right on Peyton Cormier's stick or Peter Garneau's stick and let those guys step in and hammer. It really is amazing. And you know, how lucky am I, and how lucky is Sean and Kip? We got that guy for 3 more years.
Caroline Darney.
Hey Lars, you talk a lot about your joy for the game, and that obviously always spreads to the players and they play with that sort of enthusiasm. But second half especially, they came out at halftime like just seemingly enjoying every moment of this. Was there emphasis at halftime around, hey, we got 30 minutes left in the season, let's make the most of it?
That comes from the men themselves. The hooting and hollering we were doing pregame, you know, couldn't wait to get out of the tunnel to start with the hour countdown. The fun, the positivity. Again, there's a belief in our system. Everything we do is preparing for us for championship weekend. So how we lift, when we lift, how we lift on Sundays, it creates this attitude that we can play on a Saturday, lift heavy on Sundays, and then once in a while, sometimes practice on Monday and then give Tuesday off, because of the mindset that we're getting ready for championship weekend. And, you know, the men know that. And so I felt it in 2019. I remember Matt Jama was up there doing some lip sync DJ thing pregame before Yale. The guys were so loose and happy and excited. So I'm so glad you saw that and witnessed that, Caroline. And that's from them. And because they really are having a fun time. But they're believing that the system, that, you know, we're not beat up, we're not sore. We're used to lifting heavy on Sundays. And then you combine that with what our training staff does, what Rebecca Vazzo and her student trainers were doing yesterday with our men. We were in the pool yesterday morning, the massages, the back rubs, the rolling out, everything that Steve Kuch does. Again, UVA is built to win. We have the support staff, and it transfers to the men. And then we just keep it, hey, just play the game, you know, play your best and enjoy it. And man, I'm really glad you saw that, because I've seen 2 Mondays in a row where there's a confidence, there's a fun, you know, a joy of playing, as opposed to, wow, this is a huge moment. Oh boy, this is pressure filled. I'm really lucky that we've created that culture on championship weekend.
Mike Barber, Richmond Times-Dispatch.
Hey, Lars, you told your team going into 2020 that repeating was difficult. You told them how few teams had been able to do it. How difficult did it prove? How much does it mean to you to get that done? And you had a moment there, it looked like, with, I guess, your daughter cutting the net at the cage. What does that moment mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a great photo of my daughter and I cutting a net in 2019, and I kept yelling, "Where's my daughter? I need Charlotte with me." And, you know, cutting that net with her again is Yeah, it's amazing. I waited too long to become a dad. I try to tell my men, don't wait till you're 45 or 46 to become a dad. It's too much joy. There's too much fun, and to be able to share that with my daughter is it's amazing. I'm so glad we finally got her on the field. It's a little different with the COVID protocols. I just grabbed her and ran and said, thanks, security. Sorry, I got to do this. What was the beginning part of the question, Mike? I got a little emotional talking about my daughter.
You had mentioned going into 2020 how difficult repeating was. Now that you've done it, how difficult was it to accomplish?
It is. There's no question. It's really hard. I mean, we got 2 1-goal wins over a great North Carolina team and a great Maryland team, and Alex Rowe making all these great saves for us. And it's just a couple balls go the wrong way. It's really, really difficult to do this. And I had this opportunity. It was a really great experience. Dom Stars had connected the Georgetown men's soccer staff with me for a call during the COVID shutdown. We jumped on a Zoom, and they were coming off of their national championship, which unfortunately was against our own Virginia Cavaliers. And we just talked about how do you approach the concept of defending or repeating. And we couldn't have come at it any more different. I actually did exercises where I showed them, look over the last 20 years of college football, men's basketball, and men's lacrosse. Let's see how many teams have repeated. And there's just not many. College football, it was, Alabama may have done it once, they repeated, and USC did it like 1.5 times because one time they split. And then men's basketball was Florida, and men's lacrosse, Duke had done it once. And I was trying to prove a point that this is really hard. So we got to work, if you could put a number on it, 42 ergs of work energy out of all the men in our program, we got to get to 50 or 52. And then I talked to the Georgetown staff, and he'd done just the opposite. He was saying, oh, let's look over the history of men's soccer and look at all these examples of when teams have gotten on a roll, have won 3 in a row. And after that conference call, I'm like, I really like his method much better than my negative one. And so that was really kind of this incredible opportunity to be able to defend a title and get a second chance, because the COVID year shut it down. And I created such a negativity out of, I wouldn't even let the guy say defend or repeat. And we had a good start to the year, but it felt a little too professional almost. And Caroline, seeing that passion that she mentioned in her question to me, kind of lost a little bit of that luster because I was so uptight about. And then having that conference call over the Zoom with the Georgetown soccer staff and Dom was exactly what I needed to just liberate this thing. Like, hey, let's embrace our history. Let's have some fun with it. Let's look at, this is possible. Let's look at the examples in history. So sorry for the long-winded answer there, but it was so it just created a positive mindset, but no question, Mike, this is really, really difficult because there's so many great coaches and great teams out there. And so, it's this is an arduous task.
Okay, we'll have 2 more questions for Coach. Preston Willett, CBS 19.
Hey, Lars, I asked Jared and Alex earlier just about the journey this program has gone through since you've gotten there and Jared joined you. Thinking back to that win at UNC, the first ACC win.
Yeah.
What has this journey been like to now look at yourselves as 2-time NCAA championships?
Right. It's the opportunity to come here was one that I was certainly very excited about. I wanted to make sure Sean and Kip were ready to come to, and fortunately they were. It was funny, in 2016, I had bought a house in essentially January of 2016, and Kip had bought a house in May of 2016. So me about 6 months later and Kip about a month later, we're selling houses we just bought. It's not the greatest, at finance, apparently, with the 2 of us. But, and to follow Dom, forget trying to get in those shoes. It's just impossible with his 4 national championships and how he's been just an incredible coach and mentor. Looking back at the struggles of year 1, the challenges of year 1, but boy, did we learn so much as a coaching staff. We learned that we needed to spend more time as a team. We needed to dive into some books, our Cultural Thursdays, and we just finished our 6th book, How Champions Think, by Dr. Bob Rotella, a fantastic sports psychologist. And we recognized that we needed to get faster. We were big, we just weren't fast enough. And I can remember playing North Carolina and Duke late in that first year, 2017, and recognizing, okay, so we knew we had to get faster and quicker, but playing those two teams, like, okay, we need to be faster and quicker, and we still need to be big, and so we have to up our games when it comes to the recruiting. And I just, that's the beautiful thing about ACC lacrosse, is because it's so deep, and because of how the success that the other teams in our league have had, it raises the bar. We've had to get better because of Syracuse, Notre Dame, Duke, and North Carolina. We didn't have a choice. And so our success is because of their success and because how strong they are. And we've been fortunate year 2, year 3, year 4, obviously cut short, year 5, that we've been able to take these really, really good steps forward. But again, it's because we didn't have a choice. And so, yeah, it's a challenge. But it's a wonderful challenge being in the ACC. It only hardens us.
Okay, and our final question, Jeff White, VirginiaSports.com.
Hey, Lars, yesterday's Zoom call, Matt Moore was asked about his injury, and he kind of downplayed it and said it was no big deal. Was that indeed the case, or was he playing through some pain today? And just what about his performance in general?
Matt Moore's performance was heroic. The pain he was playing through. Matt Moore, to Matt Moore standards, has not had a typical Matt Moore season. And for him, with an injury, to step up on the biggest stage, as he did against Yale 2 years ago, and today to score 4 goals, including that, essentially the one that put us ahead 2 goals, and every goal mattered as Maryland was making that comeback. It's absolutely heroic. There was no question he was playing, and it didn't change the way he played. He didn't favor one side versus the other. He was going to let it all hang out there. And, for him to be able to play, just to play itself was heroic. And for him to obviously put up, 4 goals, get a couple of assists, fly around in the ride. That's who he is. And, through thick and thin, we're going to lean heavily and ride Matt Moore, and really lucky he wants to come back for a 5th year, and he's in the Batten school. And so we'll have Matt and Connor together for one more season, a dynamic duo.
Coach, thanks so much for your time and East Hartford this weekend, and congratulations on the national championship.
Thank you, everybody. I know I was a little long-winded there, and everyone's ready to move on, but I appreciate your patience with me.
No, you were great. Thank you very much. And the sun is now shining here in East Hartford, so we're good to go.
That's right. Start taking pictures now. Take some pictures now.
Thank you very much.